Namaste everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Louisa. Conscious that the camera has framed us so that we have this incredible light coming through onto the lens, and I'm hoping that you can all get some beautiful inspiration from that. It's appropriate for my video today because I wanted to discuss 3 really simple steps that we can all take right now to liberate ourselves personally and to liberate our planet and humanity from the darkness which has had a grip on this planet for so long and on our human consciousness. I speak often to people who've gone through mental health challenges, but more recently my audience is growing wider because really, as this consciousness shifts happens, we start to realize what we all have in common, not what's different about us. So rather than putting people with mental health issues in a basket, it might be fair to say that we've all got mental health issues at the moment, considering the rapid changes that we're going through. I did make another video on this called Mass Psychosis, Mass Awakening, comparing the turning over of belief systems and the fear, the collective fear that's come up on our planet, to a psychotic experience. Not to frighten you, because that video gives context about why that's a really good thing, why it's really a healing crisis. So go and watch that if you want a bit more information on that in general. This video, however, I'm going to broadcast a message via another channel that I listen to. Her name is Magenta Pixie, and I watched her inspirational video last night. It's an hour and 20 minutes, and Magenta Pixie is not everybody's cup of tea because she's quite spiritual, so she converses a lot with higher beings, and she has some experiences which I felt, while they were fascinating, that they may not resonate with my audience or some of the people I know. So what I wanted to do today was narrow it down for you, make a much quicker version of her teaching. Definitely honor her as the source of this. I think her message is perfect and can be applied to many people. So this is it. There are 3 steps that were outlined by Magenta Pixie, given to her by higher guidance, which I fully resonate with. I think they're absolutely perfect, and as she explains, they will liberate us. So what do I mean by liberation in the first place? Well, in case anybody's noticed, we are going through some very strange times at the moment. We have this virus, right, which is one problem, and for people who are very unconscious to what's going on the deeper levels behind the brochure-like version that the media give us, for those people this information might be really new. But for many people now on the planet, they are actually waking up to this stuff. They're starting to do their own research. You might well be one of them. You're becoming aware that all that we've been taught in schools, in media, in our education system, in our medical system, the banking system, the political spheres, everything that's kind of official and authority is now proving to be very suspect information, and behind those versions of reality that we've been sold lie some very dark truths about covert manipulation of our planet and our consciousness, brainwashing of humanity, cutting us off from our birthright, our connection to source, to, some would say God, some would say the infinite intelligent field, which for many people is really coming online. I'm just going to move the camera slightly in case that's just way too bright. Oh, no, that doesn't work. Okay. I hope this video is going to look okay. We'll just keep going because this is important. Okay, so yes, we've been cut off from our connection to source. Of course, there's people on the planet that have managed to maintain that connection. Usually people who are practicing shamanic practices, paganism, Wiccan, indigenous cultures around the world, they have managed to keep that knowledge alive. But for many people, it's been suppressed through ridicule, through invalidation, through hiding it completely. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? So secret knowledge, arcane knowledge, esoteric knowledge has been hidden from us, as has the actual operations. Who's got the strings of the planet? Who's the puppeteer? Who's the one designing this society? And there is actually a term for it. It's called social engineering. Now, the agendas that have been behind a lot of the things we see on our planet have not been for the greater good of humanity. Some of those agendas are really so dark that I don't want to go into them right now, but what I want to say is it's really critical for you to understand them, which is step one. So let's dive into it, right? What are our steps to liberate ourselves from this situation that we find ourselves in collectively on the planet? The first step is actually to understand, to look at this dark agenda of which I speak now. So this is not something that you can necessarily be told. This is something that each of us needs to learn for ourselves. Each of us needs to go on a journey to uncover as much of the big picture as we can. Now, we're all going to be imperfect in our analysis because we're human beings and we have a filter and a mind and we can only see so much at a time. But let me assure you that once you've covered a fair amount of the picture, you'll have a decent enough grasp, and your grasp of reality is going to match up with all of the other people who've come before you now. These people that have been digging up the truth now for as probably in the last 50 years really intensively. There are some truth seekers that go right back to the 70s, 80s, 90s who were banging on about the stuff, trying to wake humanity up, and very few people were listening. And now, because of this virus, because of events, because of energies, because of alignment of certain planets, because of divine timing, we are waking up en masse. So this information is now available. The internet is another catalyst. It has brought this information to all of our fingertips. Now, it is buried to a degree. There has been huge amounts of censorship. You will, if you put some keywords into Google, you might find that your search, takes 2 or 3 pages to kind of actually get to the proper information. There's also lots of agendas working to debunk these theories or to ridicule them or dismiss them or, create fear around being called a conspiracy theory. There's a lot of social pressure that comes from researching this stuff because people can attack you for it if you start to present a viewpoint that is contrary to mainstream narrative. But now more than ever, it's so important for each of us individually to take responsibility for our knowledge. We cannot trust the authorities. We cannot trust the authorities. That is a hard truth to come to, and it's going to bring up feelings. So this step one is about understanding what's going on, and kind of 1A or 1B would be to allow the feelings that come up for you when you're examining this stuff to be there, and what's called integrate them. So really that's just a way of saying feel it, process it, go beyond it. Figure out how you can recover from that, we don't want to ignore that this exists. It's really dark, it's really horrible, it makes me feel yucky. Yes, it does, but it's very important that we integrate these feelings as they come up, because we're going to get them. It's really natural, right? We're going to see horrible things being exposed on our planet. We are seeing horrible things being exposed on our planet, and there is a lot more to come. So I'm not going to go into what these horrible things are, because it's beyond the scope of my ability to explain it in a short video, and people do it better than me. So I'm going to post some links that you guys can start your research, but it's an intuitive thing. You've got to follow your own nose. And what will happen is you'll come across something and boom, it's like, oh, that's just too much. You want to reject it. Your mind wants to reject it. Try to keep an open mind. Not everything you read and follow will be true, of course, but it's, especially in the initial stages, it's about connecting the dots. It's about sort of leaving an open mind, going, okay, could that be true? Let's see if I can find it corroborated somewhere else or find evidence for it. So much evidence now. It is beyond a doubt, really, once you see this evidence for yourself. So reassure your mind that you understand the plan, feel your feelings about the plan. That's step one. This is important that we don't ignore what's going on, essentially. This is a difficult step for people who are very in the love and light, sort of higher frequencies, very focused on meditating to bring peace to the world. That's important. We're going to get to that. But for those folks, they might find step one really challenging because they don't want to look at it and it's scary and it's dark. As Magenta Pixie explains, you do not need to know every detail, and you couldn't anyway. But, just digest a little bit at a time. Just digest a little bit. We need to know, we need to face it, we need to be the witness to understand what is happening on this planet. This is important because step two is speaking or claiming your sovereignty through a declaration. So you might have already started to see these popping up on the internet. This is very important. The negative beings that have created these dark agendas and this dark plan that we are partially seeing manifest at the moment, it's manifesting because it must be exposed. It isn't going to come to full fruition if we follow these steps, right? It isn't going to. There are multiple timelines happening here, but two predominant ones. There's the negative dark agenda one, and then there's what's called the ascension timeline. Now, even on the ascension timeline, we need to witness this darkness coming up. We need to see it because it is like a shadow aspect of the collective psyche. It has to come up for our viewing. And then we have to individually say no to that. So part of the way that universal law works is that these beings have infiltrated our reality as a human population. And when I say beings, yes, I am talking about extraterrestrials. They are behind the human beings who are enacting the atrocities. There is a chain of command, if you like, that involves enslavement, essentially. So they are both ETs and people. Now, part of the universal law is that in order to infiltrate a reality system like the Earth and a consciousness, they need to tell us what they're doing. They need to broadcast it. And we have to give permission. Now, there's a kind of a loophole, if you like, where they might tell us, but because they're disclosing in a way that isn't clear or is deceptive or manipulative, we unconsciously give permission and we don't realize we're doing it. So this has been the whole game of brainwashing, right? And they've brainwashed us through media, through entertainment, through our education system. It has been infiltrated everywhere. This kind of we know best authority, this is how the world is and reality operates, and this is what we want you to believe. So waking up out of that is really challenging, I concede. I mean, everyone who is awake at the moment has gone through that challenge. So we're right there with you. If you're really new to this and you're just becoming aware, oh my goodness, there's so much going on this planet that I had no idea about. Hang in there, because it does get a lot better. It gets empowering when you get the full picture. So that's what these 3 steps are going to do. They're going to empower you. So 1, understand the plan and integrate the feelings. 2, do not give your consent. So a statement of non-consent or a reclaiming of your sovereign power. I do not consent to humanity being controlled. I do not consent to having my body violated. One of the dark agendas is that they want mandatory vaccinations. Go look it up. It's everywhere in their plans, which are very overt, because, as I said, they have to actually tell us what they're doing. The thing is, most people haven't wanted to believe this stuff, so they've shut down to it and think it couldn't possibly be true. So you have to do the research. That's why you've got to do it. Once you understand what the plan is, then you cannot give consent to it. This is critical critical thinking, right? We need to know what it is we're up against, and then we need to say no to that. So that's where we take our power back. We say no to that. No to humanity being controlled. No to my body being violated. No to poisons being put in the atmosphere or in vaccines or in our food or in our water supply. No to brainwashing and media manipulation. No to censoring. So much truth on the internet is censored and it's derided and dismissed, but it's really censored. It's, so often social media will brand it as fake news, but actually there's facts there to be verified. It would stand up in a court. So no to being manipulated. Now, this declaration is something that you make. It should be personal. You can use somebody else's if the words really resonate for you. I'm going to post my declaration at the bottom of this video, and at the end of this video I'm going to also read it out so that you can hear what I've come up with and what I want to say. Now, when we state it, this is the thing. We are energetically telling these people that are behind these dark agendas, no. This is our single most powerful word is no. And of course we've been trained not to really use no. We've been trained to acquiesce to authority. We're fearful of what will happen if we say no. I just want to reassure you that when this happens energetically en masse, when we all say no, it can't happen then. They do not have our permission, right? So you don't have to say no and send your letter to your prime minister or your president. It's not actually about a person out there. It's about an energy. It's about you broadcasting into the infinite intelligent field that we're all connected to. You're sending a message to those dark forces to say no. So read it out aloud in your bedroom if you want. Write it down, carry it in your wallet if you want. Make a video and speak it out loud. Type it up on Facebook. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just say no to whatever you don't want. You are setting your boundaries, and it's personal, so that's why there isn't like one consent statement that can float around that everybody would love. Unity consciousness, working together as a group, as a group of human souls, does not mean we all have to be the same. We can hold different views. What causes our division, though, is that we've been so mind controlled that we find it very hard to see what's true or not. And I think that what I've noticed happening in the truth community or the starseed community, people that are awake, is that once they wake up from that slumber, it literally is like waking up. It's like, oh, okay, wow, there's this whole other reality. Once that happens, we do become very unified. There is incredible cooperation and love and spirit of goodwill and helping each other, compassion, all the good stuff. We are capable of that as a human race. We're really capable, because in that reality, once you've woken up, the awake reality, we can align naturally with our true values, not to hurt each other, to speak truth, to act with integrity, not to put money before other people. All of these things naturally flourish when our eyes have been opened. So yeah, so you don't have to agree with everyone else's consent statement. Just make your own and make it heartfelt and speak it out loud. So that's step 2. Now step 3, some other people might find this step hard. So the crystalline beings who are here, you know who you are. You have massive hearts. You're very in tune with energy. You can feel everything that's going on the planet, and you're extremely sensitive. So you've probably been working on your own stuff. You're a very loving being, and you can sit in love, almost in an angelic presence, a kind of what we would call Christ-like consciousness, pure, beautiful love. Now you folks might find step 1 or step 2 really hard because you don't want to look at the dark stuff. But interestingly, the truther community, so people who find step 1 really easy, like looking at all this stuff, they're fascinated, they spend all night researching, they might find this 3rd step really hard. And the third step is to emanate and give out love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude to these negative forces that have held us in this trap for so many thousands of years, that have committed crimes against humanity, that have traumatized us, that have lied to us, that have killed us, that have poisoned us, that have stolen our children, that have abused our children. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is our penultimate ticket out of this mess. It takes a spiritually awakened person to be able to do this. Now, for some of you, you might not have thought about forgiving atrocities on the planet, but maybe you've had an experience where you've gone through a deep conflict, a heartbreak with someone in your life, and you've come far enough through that process that you're able to forgive that person and to look back and go, wow, thank you, because I wouldn't have learned what I learned without that experience. So it's very similar on a collective level. These negative beings, just like us, are in service to the divine. Everything is in service to the divine. And divinity, source consciousness, it splits essentially. It's a spectrum, so it's not black and white, but it polarizes into service to self, so beings who concentrate on only serving themselves to the detriment of others. And to do that, they need to use fear, they need to control, they need to do all the tactics that we see on Earth. On the other end of the spectrum is service to all, or service to others. But I prefer service to all, because really you're serving yourself as much as you're serving everybody, but everybody wins in that energy. That is positive energy, that is love energy, that is unity energy. So there is a polarization that naturally occurs in all of creation, and it's there to create contrast, it's there to create experiences, it's there to create balance. If every being that emanated from source was pure light and loving, we wouldn't have learning experiences. We wouldn't, it's like we almost need to understand the darkness before we can truly understand love, right? So some of you will really, really get this, and those souls are getting it because they've gone through it. They've literally been able to alchemize their negative experiences into forgiveness, compassion, love. So you are very needed on the planet right now, because we do need this perspective to ultimately liberate ourselves. If we stay stuck in anger, if we stay stuck in fear, then we're only going to be feeding in to that dark agenda, to that timeline. It's the key, it's the golden key, is this forgiveness. And maybe it might also help to think of it as that we've all been part of a big play, right? A stage play, a theatre play. We've all played different roles, and there have been villains, very, very nasty villains, yes. But when you come off that stage, at the end of the show, you're giving each other a pat on the back. Well done, you played a great villain, right? It is very like that. We are all God dressed up as people. This is a high, high truth, a beautiful truth that I know is difficult for some people to understand. So if you're struggling with it, that's okay. It's really understandable. But I suppose if you can't get to pure love and forgiveness for these people that have done this harm, you might want to work with a bit of different words that feel okay to use. So perhaps acceptance, that okay, this is where we're at, this is where we find ourselves at, accepting. You might want to work with compassion. That can sometimes be easier, because when we understand the psychology of the negative forces, they're actually enslaved. They manipulate the whole control matrix that we literally see manifesting before our eyes at the moment, in terms of martial law and some of the threats that are being made against humanity and some of the ways that they're trying to manipulate us still. That that energetic complex of control is exactly what keeps those beings in line with their masters. So it's a very hierarchical control structure. And in a lot of ways, they're enslaved. They don't have a choice. They have given their free will over to their masters, and it's like a hierarchy. It's tiers, and so they are bound. They make promises, and ultimately, it's a hell. It's a kind of hell for them. So, especially now on this planet, right? They've got away with a lot because that was what was meant to happen. It's been a story, an incredible story that humanity has. We've all written this together. But now, as we wake up on the cusp of the age of Aquarius, on the cusp of the golden age that's been long predicted, as we wake up to the truth and to love, right? We want both of those things. It's a spiritual awakening and it's an information awakening. As we wake up, we transcend. We don't need that story anymore. That's the old story. I feel that so strongly now because I'm kind of already living in this future timeline, this ascension timeline, that the old world is gone. Like, I know that it's gone. We're not going back to the old ways. We're stepping into an incredible, beautiful new consciousness that is going to be birthed on this planet, that is going to create incredible things that are already there. They're waiting. They're sometimes still only thoughts or ideas that are ready to be born. Other things have already manifested. Free energy, I believe. Things like that. Things that are going to completely change our world. Our financial system is collapsing. Don't be afraid of that. The collapse must happen. The new things will be born. They're already there. There's plenty of people working together on it. So there is so much hope. And, you know, do your dose of dark research, but balance it out with things that make you feel really good. There are lots of spiritual teachers at the moment who have just, you know, pouring out content, right? Because we know that this is the time. This is the time when all of these voices are needed. And your voice as well, no matter what area of life you work in. Even if you just have a chat to your family and friends around you, you can bring in this wisdom and you can bring in this love, and together wisdom and love is what's going to liberate us. So I hope that helps people. Magenta Pixie's talk, I do recommend it. It's just that it's a bit longer and it's a bit more, she talks about dragons and higher beings and a few more esoteric things, which I just wanted to keep this talk hopefully a bit more grounded and very simple. 3 steps, that's what we need to do, guys. So I will leave you now, and keep watching because I'm going to play my declaration of sovereignty for you all. All right. Sending you all so much love at this time, and lots and lots of blessings for your magnificent awakening into the full divine being that you are. Namaste.